Hey there, Christy again, here with the tips and tricks video for you. So today we're going to tackle crooked spines. Crooked spines is a very common challenge, especially with books that are older and or less prevalent online. So the best quality spine you can find is crooked, and it's frustrating because the spine would work if you could just straighten it. And so almost always there is a way to do so. Sometimes it's too extreme to make work in a good quality, but I have two examples that are very common for you today. So that's a slightly crooked one and a very crooked one. And as you continue to make book covers, you'll realize that you start to wonder, why can't people just post perfectly straight spines? How difficult would that have been? So it's just one of those common frustrations that you're going to run into. However, they're very easy to tackle with a few steps. So we're going to start with the one on the right here, Along Came a Spider. It's slightly crooked. So if I were to try and crop this the usual way by double clicking on the photo and dragging in my crop lines, you can see that it's going to end up looking like this. So it's got extra space on the right. It doesn't look right. And so in order to fix that, the first step is to double click on the photo as if you were going to crop it. But instead you're going to use this little ball up here to rotate it. And since it's not that crooked, I'm just going to rotate it just a little bit to the right. And I kind of just eyeball it until it looks about straight. So that looks pretty straight. I am then not going to crop it for multiple reasons that are boring to get into, but it's not worth cropping it because it makes it more complicated later. So instead, you are going to use the snip tool if you're on a Windows computer, or you're going to use the Command Shift 4 if you're on a Mac. So when you use the snip tool, it basically allows you to take a screenshot of a limited part of the screen. So for example, on a Windows, I'm going to click New Snip. And when I do that, it can then be used to outline whatever I want to snip. So you can see here that I am attempting to outline the spine, but not any part that I don't want. So basically like cropping, but just choosing the part that you want rather than getting rid of what you don't want. So this is what I want, what's inside the box. And so then I have my spine now and it looks pretty straight. So I'm going to copy this image onto my slide. Now you'll notice it is slightly blurry. However, when I size it down and go to print it, that blur is so slight that it will not look like that when you print it to make your books. So all I have to do now that I have the image is just resize it. So I would click on my spine, and because I'm on the medium book slide, I'm going to go ahead and size it to that. So I'm going to make it 0.28 by 1.4. And now you can see here, if I zoom in, it looks about as straight as you can get. And it honestly, quality wise, looks really great. So at this point, some tweaks you can do if you would like. You can always mess with brightness and contrast. So brightness and contrast can just kind of make a book pop a little bit better. So you can play around with that, but really it's pretty much good to go. So that was not that hard of a fix. The 3 steps were rotate, snip the image that you want, and then just resize. So that one was really not that bad to do. So that just goes to show if it's slightly crooked, really not hard to get it straight. However, you might think, oh, well, the more crooked, the more difficult it's going to be to fix. But that's not really the case. So you can see here that this one is way more crooked. However, I'm going to do those same 3 steps. So I'm first going to double click it like I'm going to crop it, but really what I'm going to do is rotate it with this ball. So I'm going to rotate it around until I get it about where it looks straight. That looks about straight. And I want to make sure to pull the lines up and down in order to make sure that the whole spine is inside that box, because if it's not, it's going to get cut out. So you can see here that the whole spine is fitting inside the box. It's now straight. So that was the first step. Remember, the first step is always to rotate. Okay, so then the second step is not to crop, but to snip. So I'm going to do a new snip, and I'm going to go ahead and outline what I want. So about there. And then I'm going to copy that picture in. and then I just resize. So I'm going to go ahead and just resize it to the same as the other one. Now when I zoom in here, let's say, for example, you don't really want all of this on the left because there is kind of some like white looking like film on the left here. So let's say you want at this point to crop it down a little bit more. You can actually do that at this point. So you can double click the image just like normal. And I'm going to drag this in a little bit just to get rid of some of that white. And it kind of makes it a little more even too as far as how much spine is on either side of the title. So now I cropped it. So then I would want to make sure I put the size back to what it should be. And so now I have a straight spine and it's the whole thing and it's nice and high quality. I could mess with the contrast a little bit, which sometimes can help improve that quality just a little bit, especially like it kind of hides the white stuff. So you can see these side by side now. They are straight and they don't have any extra space on either side. So those 3 skills that we did today were rotate, snip, and resize. And at that point, like I said, you can do brightness, you can do contrast, you can crop it down a little bit more. Just the one thing you don't want to do is crop it after you rotate it. You want to snip it after you rotate it. That will allow you to then manipulate it without issues, because Google Slides in rotating can be sort of picky about the way you do it. So that was how we straightened a couple of spines from slightly crooked to very crooked. And like I said, sometimes you'll get one that really you just cannot make work based on the angle, especially if the spine is not facing the camera very well. So sometimes that just means you got to take a deeper search. And so I will have a tip and trick video out, if it's not already, about searching and how to best and most quickly find what you're looking for as well. But typically you can make it work with a crooked spine. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for more tips and tricks videos, and happy bookmaking.